Hello folks, it is time to look at some more of your Space Marine custom chapters. This is part 4 of 5, where we're going to take a quick break when we get to part 5 next week. And then the following week we're going to be doing Xenos factions. So if you have any alien factions, Xenos factions, you want to talk about, you want to go over, then make sure you get those sent in, because in a few weeks we will start reading those out before doubling back into Imperium again. And when we do the Imperium, we'll be doing Space Marines and regiments, your Imperial Guard regiments and things like that. So, oh, and Rogue Trader Dynasties as well, though they'll be in those videos in a few weeks' time. Let's jump in, shall we, to our first in our selection today, and that is the, if I remember correctly, the Void Lions. So, if you have sent me an email, I'll read it out first, and then I'll get into your lore. So, first of all, you've sent me a few pictures that I quite like, so here we go. How dare you be so good at painting? Let me just say that. Let me just say that. Not nice at all. But hey, I hate it when people do the colours I'm doing better than what I'm doing. That is a lovely looking model, man. Well done to you. Anyway, the Void Lions. So, hello North. Just like to say, great minds think alike, and I created this chapter 4 years ago. All I can say is, great colour scheme on your Astral Blades. Yeah, they're Void Talons now, but yeah, thank you. The Void Lions. The Void Lions are an Ultima founding Dark Angels successor chapter. Their symbol is a purple lion over a silver circle eating a star. They were gifted the planet Polemos, a desert world where the equator of the planet is the only area with water and the ability to grow crops. It was a medieval-style world with a Mediterranean culture before the Void Lions arrived. Okay, right. Think Greek, Egyptian, and Persian. Okay, I like this. Sometimes I like lore that isn't so, you know, flowery, where they're just giving me the meat and potatoes. I like the way this is written. Okay. The chapter took on the role as rulers of the planet, and to show their ruling status, they painted their armour in noble colours. The armour is painted in a silver grey gold trim and an aquila, and a royal purple shoulder and knee pads. The veterans will paint their helmet with the same royal purple. The Void Lions are not Codex compliant, okay. They'll use the Codex for generic rules of engagement and things like that, but if it is required, they will use any form of battle tactics for victory, besides the first company being comprised of veterans of the chapter. Okay, one thing I will say about Space Marine chapters, right? It's very, very, very important to make sure that your Space Marine chapter has a tactical niche. Saying that they just adopt everything, whilst it's very Dark Angels-y, and it's fine, if you're a successor chapter, that's the time to really let your talent for writing breathe a little bit, right? You're not the Ultramarines, you're not the Dark Angels, you're not specialising in several different things at once. If you're a successor chapter, you should be something. Do you know what I mean? And that sounds like a cop-out answer, or a cop-out way, a bit of feedback, but I mean it. You should be something. Are you really good at close combat? Are you really good at drop assaults? Are you potentially all psychers or anti-psychers? Are you really indomitable and able to walk into a mountain of gunfire and shrug it off easily? Why? Are most of your guys dreadnoughts or in mech suits or whatever, right? You need to have, as a successor chapter, something that is your own. And what you've just said there is that they will use any tactic whatsoever. Okay, well, give me a quirk on why that's different, because all you've said there is that they're good at using tactics. Alright, well, what tactics? Okay, are there certain tactics that they excel at more than others? Is the fact that they're so versatile tactically a drawback? You know, let me know. Expand. As my English teacher used to say, expand, 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 all the time when writing lore. Alright. The other companies are dedicated to certain war doctrines. When a neophyte is accepted as a full Astartes, the chaplains of each company decide on what company this battle brother will be best suited for. If a neophyte shows aggression and has favour for close quarters combat, they are sent to the second company, for example. The chapter only takes children from the barren wastes of Polemos. Very rarely are royal-born taken in as initiates. Usually, a noble will send their sons into the tests. However, those boys are usually subpar compared to those that survive in the deserts. Currently, the chapter is at a stalemate with a Khorne warband. Gilgamesh, the chapter master of Gilgamesh. Come on, dude. Right, okay. Here's another thing. Right, Gilgamesh. That is a figure of ancient Earth myth. Okay, that is it's a cool name, but maybe move a bit away from on the nose historical names. I've seen this come up a lot in past weeks. Don't name your chapter master Genghis Khan. Don't name them. You know, at least do something like what Games Workshop did. They named them Chagatai Khan because it's cool, right? But don't just take one straight out of history. Rename this dude, please. All right. Gilgamesh is a fine name, but it's too on the nose. It's too much, right? Work in and it should be Mediterranean as a name, right? Okay. Cassander would be an amazing name for this guy, because you said you want it to be like Greece and like the Mediterranean of ancient days, of ancient yore. Well, Cassander's a good name, right? Names like that aren't famous but are cool and come from the cultures that you want to portray. That's what you should be doing. Anyway, Gilgamesh the chapter master is not the fastest, the strongest, or the best fighter, but he is a strategic genius, using the knowledge of whom they are fighting to his advantage. The Void Lions are outnumbered by the Chaos forces that they are currently engaged with. However, Gilgamesh understands how the Berserkers think, baiting them into head-on fights only to bombard them with artillery. Use the stealth technology to assassinate high-value targets, and most of all, they try not to get into an open fight with any Chaos warband. The Void Talons are holding their ground and protecting Polemos from invasion currently by said Khornate Chaos forces. However, the Librarians are seeing visions of a terrible war led by a devil full of rage. These visions are happening far more often, and Gilgamesh fears his chapter might soon come to extinction. Okay. I like this. It's to the point, it's in your face, and you have this lovely bit of art here. I'm assuming this is your chapter master, right? Did you do this? Dude, you're super talented. You're super talented as an artist. If you can get your lore down, just to be a bit more concise, and a bit more, you know, stop being afraid. I'm reading this, and I'm getting a sense that you're kind of like, nervous to take your lore to the next level. Do you know what I mean? You're sticking very close to what the Dark Angels are. Dude, spread your wings, man. You got the talent. You spread your wings. Have some fun with it. Make sure that you're injecting your lore with something that's completely different to what the Dark Angels are. You can have the core of Dark Angels, but maybe diverge them in another direction, alright? So the Void Talons with me, they are technically Blood Angel successors, but they're not really. They're really World Eaters. And, you know, they're all there, and they're all fighting, they're all doing well, and they kind of really do diverge from the Blood Angels, right? And they are much more aggressive. They specialize in void warfare, right? Of taking down enemy ships and things like that. They're very good at assassinating people. All not very Blood Angel-y things, right? Mainly because they're World Eaters. But getting away from that, they diverge quite heavily, but you can still see the nobility in them. They're very noble. They're very they know that they have this rage inside of them, and so they use a meditation and almost like a Zen Buddhism sort of a thing to get their mind on the task at hand, right? They stave off the bloodlust inside of them, even though it's really there. But they've mistaken that bloodlust for the red thirst. But it's not. They just really like killing things and being aggressive, right? Because they're World Eaters and they don't realize it. So maybe all we're missing from your lore is that extra layer below the layer. Do you know what I mean? What I can see here is you built a lovely set for your show, for your TV show, and it's set in like a forest, right? And I've walked into that set and gone, this is amazing, dude, this looks awesome. And then I picked up a rock and I can see the set floor beneath that rock, okay? It's very shallow. I can see the inner workings of your writing beneath that rock. I don't want to see that. I want more depth. I want more culture. Okay? Try and meld some more things into the background here. This chapter I really like, and it has a lot of potential. So make sure you keep working on it and don't get disheartened, alright? Cool. Next one is up. And we have some lovely models here for our next chapter. Now this one will take up the remainder of the video because it's a longer form piece of content and I really like it. So, let's jump in, shall we? Alright. Let me just get the email up here from you, my good friend. I'm just going to make sure that I'm doing this properly, because this is your work, right? I don't want to be... Oh, it's Havran, I think. Is it Havran? No, it's not Havran this time. Havran's next time. Let's have a little look. Sorry, Havran, you got all excited there, didn't you? I think we have... It's not Grimm's. We just did Grimm's. Ah, here we go. Hey North, hope this email finds you in rude health. Thank you for your advice on my last email. I have since taken on and started playing at tournaments for fun, and I've started to appreciate my time in gaming a lot more. Good lad. Good lad. Nothing wrong with that. You get in there and you have some fun. Likewise, I have given my friend one-page rules if he's interested in having a game of that at some point. Either way, I've attached a few images of these fine fellows in the form of model pictures. They have improved greatly since you last saw them, I might add, as well as there is a Google Doc with a nice healthy chunk of lore. I hope you enjoy the story of the Araskar. Okay, cool. The Araskar, that's a nice name. Alright, the Araskar, or in Low Gothic, the Truth Sayers. Cool. The Vermillion Crusade. The Araskar, the Truth Sayers in Low Gothic, are a chapter of warrior poets and deeply religious Astartes whose creation is shrouded in the mystery of the 13th founding. What is known is where they are now... a bit of a jumbled wordage there. What is known is where they now come from, and their journey to becoming what they are today. The chapter, in the beginning, was known as the Vermillion Knights, and were created as a mobile fleet chapter that were to be sent up to the Damocles Gulf to make war on the Tau Empire and the Farsight enclaves that had seemingly rebelled against their own empire. Okay, nice. One good thing for lore, just as a little punchy note here, is that if you can, how do I put this? When you're starting your chapter, try and make sure you put them in the appropriate founding. So if you have a founding that if you don't want their gene seed to be known, maybe put them in the dark founding, where we don't really have the records of those chapters. Games Workshop have given you all the tools here to go in and actually pick what you want and make your army fit into the lore. That's why all these I look at them as like ports where you can just plug in, right? That's what they've done. And the foundings are one of those. There's a reason why there's so many foundings, and they all have very different things. There's even a founding where most of the people in that founding, it's called the Cursed Founding, I think, either bad things happened to them, or they really degenerated and, how do I put it? Degenerated and mutated. You know, the Black Dragons are a part of that founding, for instance, right? Cool. Anyway, initially, when the Knights had arrived, they had a codex-compliant and fully complemented chapter of a few thousand fighting battle brothers, in addition to support elements and chapter serfs. Their chapter was to turn the tide against many worlds that had been rebelling against the Imperium and joining with the putrid aliens. While the chapter was ready for war and fully capable as warriors, the Raven Guard companies, fighting against the Tau in the area, were tasked with guiding the chapter in their new role. With experienced veterans of the Damocles Gulf Crusade being implanted into the squads of the Vermillion Knights to aid in their teaching. The Knights were taught in the ways of Korax, and quickly adapted to the methods that the Raven Guard employed against the Tau and their allies. A gun line of pulse rifles and railguns mounted on mechs would be useless if the Astartes closed the distance without the naive Xenos noticing until the last fatal moment. The Knights excelled in their new way of war. I like this, right? Normally people just say, well, they have Raven Guard gene seed, so they fight like Raven Guard, right? Where you have gone, no, they've been trained by the Raven Guard. That's why they fight like Raven Guard. I like that. It's a different take on it. Decades of conflict passed, and the chapter, despite its victories, was starting to take losses due to the general attrition of war. Heavy employment of scouts in battle had also left the chapter with few acolytes to fill the ranks of the battle companies. To make matters worse, in a ditch effort to rid the Gulf of the new chapter of Marines, the Farsight enclaves launched an assault of great magnitude, whilst the Vermillion fleet was fighting a Tau Empire armada, closing the Astartes within a crossfire of heavy weaponry that almost eliminated the chapter outright. Badly beaten but not broken, the Vermillion Knights rose from the ashes with nothing but their battle barge command vessel, the Unwavering Intent. Surrounded by the burnt out and broken ships of friend and foe alike, the Knights made their new mission to find a world suitable to build a new chapter from. However, what made matters worse was a small warp storm blocking communications, leaving the Knights with few tools to tell the wider Imperium of their survival. Okay, cool. Alright. Some more models there. The chapter came to the Rashidan's Eye system, and in the system was a human-inhabited planet called Catan, or Catan. Rashidan's Eye had once been an Imperial system, but contact was lost a long time ago, potentially during the Horus Heresy. The Catani worshipped their own god, a god that was not him on Terra. Whilst the planet was resource-rich, it was a desert death world full of hardship and survival every day. The Astartes recognised the heresy this world was committing. However, it also recognised that its people was strong, because Catan made them strong. When I say Catan, I mean Qatan, not Cetan, right? Not star gods. Quatan. But I'm calling it Catan because it's a cool name. A suitable crucible to dredge the strong from the weak for the chapter. Alright, so reborn from the sands. The chapter master, Scholar Kratek, could not simply slaughter the world's populace. The indigenous population needed to be prepared and changed to suit the chapter's purposes. Infiltrating their society, the Astartes began to spread the rumours of the Emperor, and not that their god was false, but was in fact the Emperor all along. Catani networks would be flooded with the truth, and that his angels would soon come to elevate the world to his holy light. After years, the cult of the Emperor grew and swelled as planted images of the Astartes coming showed the planet the true path to glory. More and more began to understand that their faith in their god was not misplaced, and now they were to truly understand their place in the universe. Alright, I like that. That's very Dune-like. Do you know what I mean? The manipulation of belief. That's very Dune-like. I like that a lot. That's cool. Very cool. Let me just put that on there. Okay. The day came when the Astartes came from the skies, and instead of adorning their traditionally vermilion-coloured armour, they had painted their armour white to symbolise their purity. Not only because they had also dressed their armour in typically Catani garbs, along with also introducing themselves not as the Vermillion Knights, but in Catani Gothic as the Truthsayers, the Araskar. Years in the making, Scholar had carefully crafted a prophecy to be fulfilled by themselves. The world accepted them with open arms, and those who didn't were put to the sword swiftly and quickly. This is great lore, man. This is great, and because it all fits in together, it makes sense. Okay, maybe say, one slight change I'd make is say that it took a few decades to get this belief system going rather than in a few years. It would take a lot longer than that, do you know what I mean? A few years. Anyway, a fortress monastery was built in the honour of the Araskar, along with the help of the tech priests of the Unwavering Talent. The whole planet was turned into the training grounds of the Reborn chapter, and the faithful warriors of the planet put their children forward to become the new generation of Astartes. The Imperial forces fighting in the Damocles Gulf had found the destroyed fleet of the Astartes and assumed that they were destroyed in their entirety. While a massive loss of resources, all they could do was move on and honour their sacrifice of eliminating a Tau fleet many times their size. Unbeknownst to them, however, the Araskar were rebuilding their strength, slowly but surely. A few generations passed, and the Astartes had taken men from the ranks of Catan's warrior priest caste, filling their chapter with men of reason as well as the god emperor. While the new Catani Astartes continued their religious rituals from before their uplifting, changing the chapter culture and morphing into something unrecognisable, the veterans taught the Catani neophytes the way of war as the Raven Guard did before them, blending the Catani dual-blade fighting techniques with covert and shadow warfare. This is elegant lore, my friend, and I'm enjoying reading it. The Araskar returned to war at full strength, and with a several thousand strong army of neophytes at their back. Alongside the Catani cataphracts, their own personal Astra Militarum regiment. Taken aback by the sudden appearance of a seemingly random force from out of nowhere, the Imperium initially responded by preparing for an attack, but soon found out that the unwavering intent had survived. The Imperials met with the Truthsayers and learnt of their chapter. There were no Imperial records of such a chapter, and so many distrusted the chapter as if they were renegades. The Raven Guard, however, recognised some of the members of the chapter, even Chapter Master Skolar himself. Skolar took the time to explain the situation to his old mentors. This has led to the two very different stories emerging from the Gulf. In one, the stories of the Vermillion Knights heroically sacrificing themselves to destroy the Tau Empire's armadas, but ultimately the survivors turn renegade and rebel against the Imperium. In the other, the Truthsayers reveal themselves after years of being trapped behind a warp storm, leading an army of heralds of the Imperial Truth. Alright. Okay. Let me throw this up there as well. There we go. We have a librarian there, very nice. Alright. Using the tactics and strategies taught to them by their Raven Guard masters, and the fighting styles of the Sand Warriors of Catan, the Araskar descended upon the worlds of the Tau Empire as if crows to feast off of carrion. Using grav shoots to silently land on their prey, the chapter began to spread wave after wave of terror across the Damocles Gulf and the Empire at large. Entire military installations would go dark overnight. The worlds of human traitors would be secretly invaded, with entire cities being slaughtered and displayed for turning against the light of the Emperor. The Tau were exterminated on their worlds. However, the human traitor worlds would only seem to lose a small fraction of their population in comparison, despite the carnage. Soon, human worlds were giving themselves back to the Emperor's light, with the Truthsayers showing them the error of their ways and teaching them the true path back to enlightenment. The zealotry of the Catani Astartes was unlike anything else their Imperial allies had ever seen. On their ships they were calm and tranquil, their words like silk, sweet and indulging. They would convince you of almost anything purely from the way they spoke, and the well-mannered and constructed arguments they gave. However, on the battlefield, they were something out of a nightmare. Silent, efficient killers that spared no man, woman or child in front of them. The typical battle brother of the chapter would carry twin blades in addition to their standard loadout. Each Astartes was a fine duelist and blur in close combat, fighting with precision and finesse. When in melee, the battle brothers of the Araskar send out a flurry of strikes with their twin blades, with each attack having a purpose. teaching the enemy a false pattern that would ultimately lead to their doom. However, most of the time the Astartes were simply too quick for the enemy to even react. The Araskar became an unspoken fear within the Tau Empire, and any human worlds near the Empire would quickly fall in line if his angels from the sands of Catan visited in the night. This reputation led to the presence of the Araskar being requested across the galaxy, along with their loyal and fanatic Astra Militarum regiments, the Cataphracts, who were expert light infantry and melee combatants armed with twin blades and grav shoots, much like their ascended brethren. Any world of the Imperium with the smallest inclination of traitorous thoughts would soon be visited in the dark, and their everlasting loyalty secured. The Truthsayers were always watching in the dark, but kept their white armour shining in the light. Okay, I like this. Maybe... Okay, one sec. Maybe tone down and pull back the fact that they are all over the galaxy. Whilst not OP, it is a bit, shall we say, you know, unrealistic for one chapter to be doing this. So maybe plonk them in that one area of the galaxy and have them be, you know, the guys there. You know, so if an Imperial world is going to fall out of line, one or two of these guys are sent to talk them back round to the Imperial cause, right? I quite like these guys. They're kind of like a mixture of Raven Guard, Night Lords, and Word Bearers. Do you know what I mean? So you have the Raven Guards because you're very stealthy, the Night Lords because you're sent to quell traitorous Imperial worlds very, very, very quickly and at very low cost, and in a horrific way if needs be, and Word Bearers in that you are away from the battlefield, you're genuinely quite nice guys. At least before the Word Bearers, you know, fell to chaos, right? You're genuinely quite nice and quite good to talk to, and you're able to talk people around to your arguments. I like that kind of thing. So you've taken those three chapters and legions and combined them into a single thing. Very nice, very elegant. As decades turned into centuries since the Vermillion Knights shed their skin and turned into the Truthsayers, the chapter culture that was initially changed to indoctrinate the world of Catan became the chapter's true culture, and even the veterans of the initial wars of the Gulf had begun to believe in the Catani religion and worship of the Emperor. Even the name of the Vermillion Knights was lost to the ages. Scholar, along with the rest of the veterans, came together and decided to honour what they once were. One last time, but before it was lost with them forever, and painted random markings on their armour in Vermillion. The rest of the Catani chapter soon followed suit, honouring the veterans with their white armour and broken patterns of Vermillion, while the rest of the chapter would never truly understand why they made these patterns on their armour. Its meaning has faded and simply become a part of the chapter's armour and aesthetics. It has become tradition for the neophyte to paint their white armour with these patterns from ascending from the same scout company to symbolise their ascension. Soon, Chapter Master Scholar Kratek would be the last living Vermillion Knight and would take the truth to the grave as a master of deception and lies. Okay, cool. I like that. So, chapter structure. This should be interesting. The chapter is structured after the Codex-compliant Vermillion Knights. However, over the years, there have been some changes to the structure as well as changes in the roles that some troops have within the chapter. Most of the companies and their roles have remained intact. However, the 6th, 7th and 8th companies have been reported and informally have been repurposed, and informally referred to as Black Companies. These formations are entirely made up of Truthsayers whose missions are never recorded or spoken of. Typically, these companies are never all in one place at any given time, but sent out across the galaxy to do the bidding of the Inquisition and other powers of the Imperium that seek their clandestine yet brutal aid. All members of the Black Companies paint their armour black, but keep their Vermillion markings. Whilst this is done to have a more stealthy approach, the Truthsayers have considered being assigned to the Black Companies as a darkening on the soul, and therefore their purity is wreathed in shadow. Whilst not a punishment or even seen as a bad thing to be part of the Black Companies, it is not sought out. The Araskar are brutal out of necessity rather than because of simple bloodlust. They kill not for the sake of it, but because it is the right thing to do in the given situation. Although this reasoning has been brought into question several times by fellow Astartes and other allies, the Truthsayers are adamant in their belief that what they do is sanctioned by the Emperor himself. Alright, that was probably one of the best chapters we've had so far. I really, really, really like it. One other change I would like to suggest, that Vermillion pattern, right? Maybe rework the lore so the Vermillion pattern is only given to the first company, because those were the Vermillion Knights originally, and they eventually were bled white, do you know what I mean? That's what I would do. And now nobody really knows why the Vermillion pattern is on the first company, but that's where it comes from. That would be a really cool way of doing it, right? Anyway, aside from that, wonderful chapter, and thank you guys for sending these in. These have been magnificent as always. I will see you next week for some more of your own custom chapters, where we will be doing chapter 5 of your custom chapters, and we're getting into it, and then we'll be doing some Xenos for a little while before repurposing back to the Imperium at large. I'll see you tomorrow too with some more Hobby Nightmares. Hopefully you'll join me then. It's going to be a fun one. See you then. Have a good one. Bye now.